Attractive and being better looking is not the same thing. Let me give you an example. I got a whole bunch of money. Does that make me more attractive? In all fairness, because it wouldn't make me better looking. What if I had a cool car? Would that make me more attractive? What if I had cool friends? And I just say a beautiful car and I say handsome friends. I'm not talking about looks. I'm asking if I'm more attractive. Why do I bring that up? Well, I'll tell you why. Bo Nickal and Chimaev have every opportunity to fight. And we very much want to see that fight. Those two guys know full well what it would take to get the fight, and those two guys are not going to do it. They get right up to the line, and they know if they just spit across, they'll have a fight, and they make sure that they don't. Now, I don't begrudge either one of them for it. These are two undefeated killers with a very similar skill set, not to mention a very similar age. And one guy nobody would want to fight is themselves. Right? Nobody is going to want to fight a guy who's got seemingly equal skills, where I can't go out and impose my fill in the blank. It's just one of those things. And where you would never put Chimaev versus Bo. You just want to do that fight, right? Chimaev is a bona fide star. Chimaev has beaten former champions. Chimaev has been named the #1 contender. And it's just not a situation where you would put him with Bo, who is about to have the record for the absolute most lopsided fight in history and the silver medal. Bo's current opponent for 300, and the guy's tough, by the way. I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm just sharing with you. Will make for the second biggest underdog in the organization's history, only to be beaten by the last opponent that Bo had. So Bo will have the gold and the silver in that category. That's the opposite of what I just told you about Chimaev. That's the opposite of beating former world champions. So it would seem as though you wouldn't put them together, right? It would feel that way, but this is where I'm coming to what looks good versus what is attractive. Chimaev used to be the most attractive commodity in the sport. There has been 3 media darlings in the history of MMA. Could not miss, could not go wrong. Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, Khamzat Chimaev. That's it. They are on a rung into themselves like I have never seen. And the dropping of the ball on the Chimaev marketing is also unlike I've ever seen. Look, that was on accident. That was completely unintentional, but it still happened. It was still observed, and you still have a team who, even though it wasn't their plan and it wasn't their idea, they need to identify it and keep it going, and they did not. Now, Chimaev still makes that big 3 list, but he is no more a guaranteed headline than the other 2 people on the list, which is Conor McGregor, who's now having to start making his own videos, not for nothing, and Ronda Rousey, who can't get a video, not for nothing. I mean, they still have the all-time, the 3 of them. But to watch Chimaev not be able to get it, I mean, I'm just sharing for you, like, as good as he is, as highest as he's ranked, his placement on cards and co-main events of pay-per-views and supposed to headline pay-per-views and, right, him and Diaz, one of the sport's biggest names. I mean, he's having all these coming out parties, like everything seems to be going his way, but he doesn't fight very often. And you cannot discuss that with heart. It's very cold. It's very cold. Gosh, he got COVID. He thought he was going to lose his life. I mean, this is very serious stuff. And now he's dealing with something. He said he was very sick, but he also said his hand was broken. I mean, like, there's some really tough stuff where you want to stay away from it. But privately, I mean, if you're saying the quiet part out loud, you do start to wonder who's more attractive, Chimaev or Bo. I didn't ask you whose resume looks better. I didn't ask you whose skills look better. I didn't ask you on paper who looked better. I'm asking you who's more attractive. If you get a guy that's ranked number 3, if you get a guy that's a number 1 contender, but for whatever reason, can't get to the octagon. There was rumors about visa and some other stuff. I don't know that I believe those. But I will remind you that you better believe they've never been denied. And meanwhile, you got Bo Nickal, get anywhere, ready to go, good attitude, wants to fight. I mean, right, you get some guys that get hurt, or they're just prone to being hurt. Hey, no problem at all. You got other guys that are just as prone and just as hurt, would never say a word. And I'll just share that. I know I'm throwing myself in there, but I've been competing since I was 9 years old. I have never missed a match due to illness or injury. It's not because I haven't been sick, and it's not because I haven't been hurt. You've never even heard about me being sick or hurt. What do you think? I'm like magical? Like my steroids are better than the other guys' steroids? No. Some guys will just go do it. And I'm saying, but is that guy more attractive? That's all I'm asking. Because for a match that you couldn't get, for two guys that look very different, you start to see, or a match that you normally wouldn't make, right? Because here's the problem. Excuse me. Here's why you don't make Bo and Chimaev. Now, first off, they haven't made you make it. They know how to make you make it. They get close, but they're not quite there yet. But the reason you don't make, right, because there's a third person, which is the second floor of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. The reason they don't do that, 155 is going through it right now. And what that is you have some stars. You got a whole bunch of really good fighters. You got 10, 15, maybe more, really good fighters. You got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 on any given night has the skills to be the champion of the world. But you have 5 stars. It's a very different thing. Like 55 has finally said, to hell with it, we can't do any more. And they would have, if they could have done this 2.5 years ago. It was just a spot where there's a lot of things at 55. They have said, to hell with it. We don't care what it costs. Repercussions be damned. Oliveira, go with this dude who nobody's name can pronounce. Diamond Poirier, do the same thing. I mean, that is just the situation. To get new blood. And the reason I tell you the story from that perspective, that's why if you're on the second floor of the UFC, you don't put Chimaev and Bo together. If they do it on their own, you sign off, but you don't put them together because now you're taking 2 up-and-comers, but they also represent something else that you want desperately, which is new blood. So you're going to take Bo, you'll put him with a hammer that's very well known. You'll take Chimaev and put him with a hammer that's very well known, just on the outside chance that you can get 2 new guys in that category that has been held down by Paulo Costa, by Robert Whittaker, by Marvin Vettori. I mean, these are compliments, right? These guys are awesome. I am complimenting these guys. They have held their spot. Jared Cantor, they have held their spot. Adesanya, now Strickland. I mean, these guys have held and they've clung. But if you're on the second floor, you have a job to do, which is to identify who's next. So it's one of these spots. Chimaev and Bo can fight. They know they can fight, and they know how to fight. They know, both of them know how to get this fight, but they haven't done it. And they're not going to be forced into it. They're not going to be asked to do it. They're the ones that are going to have to do it. They made it very clear they're not going to do it. But I'm just sharing with you why the UFC doesn't do it. You don't get 2 contenders and have them eliminate one another. When you get to that spot, right, and you're trying to do it all the time. You're constantly trying to get Bo in that tough. But those guys, they got a bunch of excuses, and you got dates, and you got tickets to sell, and these guys are here, and it is what it is, right? You start living with it. Eventually, you get to where 55 is right now, which is, I'm writing the checks, and here's what you're going to do. Or, I'm not writing a check because you won't be doing it. I mean, eventually you get to that point. And that point will be visited at 155 before Bo and Chimaev get asked to fight.